Well, welcome. We're at the first reunion party. Today's Friday, July 5th. And we just got finished with the lunch. Pizza party at the Harrisons. And now we're towards the activities of the day. Later on tonight we'll have cocktails and dinner at 5:30 to 7. And then we'll have story sharing time at 7 p.m. And that's where people will be able to share their stories. Uncle Joe!
We're gonna go get the boat. You wanna come with, or are you staying here?
We are going to grab the boat for the family activities, so we will go now.
Okay.
And to further show you the itinerary for this beautiful 4th of July weekend, Saturday we'll have breakfast. It's a morning gathering at the Harrisons. Then we'll have the same activities of the day prior to that. And then we'll have lunch at the Cove. We'll either have a Cove burger, chef salad, and Italian beef. So sign up for that. And then dinner at the Harrisons again. We'll have fireworks after the dinner. And boy, will that be fun. Then Sunday, we're all going to cool off and relax. That'll be July 7th. Let's get in focus here. There we go. And then we'll have brunch at the Harrisons. Okay. In the morning and the afternoon. Sorry for the blurriness. And then after that, we'll hit St. Joe's Mass for those who want to say a couple little prayers to be thankful for the beautiful weekend we had. Oh, what a mouthful. And I am Joe. I will be your narrator for the rest of the day. I'll wave at you. How you doing? And what you're looking at now is just the Harrison's property at General Jackson 166. We'll see you soon. Go.
Welcome to the family reunion. I'm Elise.
You're who?
Elise.
Elise with a chocolate cookie in your mouth?
Hey, Kathy.
Elise, what's your last name?
Elise died.
Oh, that's the
Very good. Thank you. Welcome. Storytelling time. Hey, Cousin Bill. Cousin Bill, how you doing? Boy, we're starting a story time a little bit late.
We're starting. The cameras are moving.
Cousin Wendy, Cindy, and her lovely husband Dennis. Uncle Cal. Danielle. And Truth. How are you, Bob? You got a good story for us today? Good, good. Hey, Chris. And Claire. Brother Joe. Chris Sundelbach. Jason! And Lois, how are you? Ready for story time? Oh, you already got it on there, love. Hey, Jay. What's up, man? Oh, you finally got the sheet you're supposed to fill out, right? Yeah, okay. Let's think of a good story now, huh? Dad, remember when my butt busted at that party? Hey there, Am. Yeah, baby. What's your name?
Amber.
And where are you from?
Omaha.
Omaha?
She is Miss Omaha.
Uncle Don. How you doing? Are you ready to...
Talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
You're talking to me?
Yeah, man. I see you're in the Italian department over there with Uncle Joe.
Great wine. Great wine. Yay!
Is this a wine commercial, I take it?
Right. You know it's labeled out.
Hey, Uncle Ben. How are you? Uncle Ben Sundelbach, everybody. Hello. Are you ready to tell a good story? And Uncle Bill is beautiful as ever.
That's Buddy Sundelbach. Joe Sundelbach.
Joe Sundelbach. I've been calling him Ben.
His nickname is Buddy. His name is Joe.
Joe. Thank you, Aunt Lois. God, hit the cameraman, please. Oh! Okay. All right, then. You narrating this?
She went to get some more chairs.
We will take a mission timeout.
We're gonna blow the story. Okay. Can we turn the TV down a little? I don't have any story to tell. Take this guy with me. Okay. Just see this guy. Jody.
She's in the bathroom.
What?
In the bathroom.
She's in the bathroom. Hey,
Well, somebody knows the route.
Nancy. I'm not gonna take a picture of your back of your head all day. I'm sorry. Rachel, what are you doing over there? Smile for the camera. Hi. And there's two little cousins. I love the spring action on this tripod. I can still get Karen and Terrell. Look at this.
We forgot the
Okay, we're starting out with story time.
Should we do this in order of like sister? Where's Betty?
Betty's the oldest sister. Betty? Just come in.
Cal could do it, then you could do it.
A letter to be put in the family reunion letter that is going to be coming out. So I scribbled out a few notes here, such as I said, I've been with the Harrison family for 50 years almost, and have many happy memories. I recall the whole bunch sitting on the front steps on School Street. This was the cool spot on a hot evening. Mom would ask Pop to spray the bricks with the hose. This was air conditioning 1946 style. There was no TV, but the family entertained with magic, word games, storytelling, and the like. Watermelon was often served on the front steps with spitting the seeds for distance competition. In those days, Betty and Cal had two young admirers in Joe Cornell Harrison III and Nancy. Joe was a real shadow. Cal learned to cut the guy's hair, if you remember that. Favorite topics of conversation were the Cubs, the Bears, and an occasional, whoops, sorry about that. So then the question was asked, how did Cal and Betty meet? This is a long one. Cal's parents ran a grocery store in Argo, Illinois. There were 8 kids, and it was a challenge keeping order. Agnes Sendelbach Murphy, there's the Sendelbach, was widowed in early 1920s, and Aunt Aggie, as she was called, was bribed to raise the Pachalski kids as a family member. She was a live-in family member. On the occasion of her 80th birthday, a party was given at Cal's house for Aunt Aggie. Celia and Betty attended that party. Cal was home on one of his between voyages leaves in 1945-46, and sparks ignited when he first saw Betty. Finally, even though Betty and Cal's Aunt Aggie are related, our kids are all right, I think.
That's a matter of opinion.
Cindy, Alan, Laurie, and Vern. Cindy, Alan, Laurie, and Vern are the pride and joy of the Cal-Pachalski family. With love, Cal.
Do you have a story, Betty?
Where's Ruth?
I have a short memory. We were asked to think back of some of the things that we did as children, something down there. And as a child, I loved to play King of the Hill, hopscotch, and double dutch with the neighborhood children on Costner Avenue. You don't remember Costner Avenue because you weren't around then. And Monopoly and Jacks were our quiet games. We could be counted on entertaining ourselves for hours without TV yet. And then we were at one of the subjects we were asked what was important in a change, something, I forgot what it was. A turning point, okay. A turning point for me was changing schools from Bryant to Mary Lyon. The teachers at Lyon took an active interest in the students and sparked a real interest for learning. And that's about it.
Now it's Ruth's turn.
Well, because I was hoping my cousins would be here, I started thinking about cousins. I'm not going to read this, but I'll tell you. one time Claire and I went to Uncle Joe in Aunt Alice's house for a week. This is on Newcastle. And the next morning for breakfast, we had cereal with raspberries from Uncle Joe's bushes. And then Claire and I went for a walk with Shirley. We picked some apples. Aunt Alice made apple pies from them. Then we went and picked blueberries. And I just thought that was heaven, since I like to eat, I guess. Then I wrote down a memory with the Kohlers. The first time that I went there to stay overnight, we were supposed to stay for a week. And Claire was all smiley. She always smiles a lot. She was ready to stay. And I said, oh, well, this is very nice. I'm going home to my mother. And so then they turned away from me and pretended that I was going home. And they said, now, Claire, tomorrow we're going to take you to the Illington for the double feature movie. But first we'll take you to the dime store. I'm going to buy you some cutout dolls. And after the movie, we're going to take you for ice cream. So I decided to stay. And the whole thing was true. We did all those things, and we just had a wonderful time. So that was a happy memory. And then for a little memory of my mother and father's childhood, not that I remember, but the stories I heard. My mother was told, as my mother's parents were told, that she as a child had heart problems. And so they said, you know, keep her quiet. And so she sat and watched people, her sister and brother play, your father. And she probably would never have children. And she carried 6 pregnancies successfully. She turned out quite beautiful, vivacious. And I do wonder what a doctor would say nowadays if they saw such a child. My father had much more freedom, and his favorite cousin, again cousins, was, what's his name? Bill Graves, Jr., and 1 month younger than my father. And they would wander around that part of Chicago and went to the slips on the South Chicago Canal, stop at their aunt's house, have a snack. But then I remember my father turning to me and saying, but my mother's cooking was the best. And that's what I remember.
How I got to meet my lovely wife, Lois. Beautiful, lovely wife, Lois. Seems that my older brother, Gus, and Don Farwell, who isn't here now, I guess he's
hiding.
hiding. They were the best of friends. In fact, Don and Ruth and my brother Gus went to Stuyvesant together, and they graduated together. Anyhow, for one reason or another, which I don't want to get into now, Don had no place to live for a while, so he lived with us. He lived with me and my brother and Gus and my younger brother, Rick, and my mother. And to explain this whole arrangement, we said that Don was my cousin, you know, my brother Gus's cousin and my cousin. And so this went on for a while, and then Don met Ruth, Lois's sister, and they got kind of chummy. And then we got to talking about this whole thing, and Don says, you know, Ruth has a sister, Joe, you ought to meet her. So I met this beautiful Lois. And this was when I was at the tender age of, what, 16 or something like that?
I think you were 17.
17? You were 16. Okay. And anyhow, one thing led to another, and I think it worked out for the best. So that's my my story about how I met Lois. Then there was one little other story I wanted to tell you about. Oh, my first job. Oh, you'll never believe this.
You'll never believe
My
it.
first job was cutting grass at St. Joseph Cemetery.
Wow.
And I loved it because I was out in the open, fresh air and so on. But I always used to say I was the only one that worked on the graveyard shift during the day. story to tell about my son-in-law, Joseph Parnell Harrison III. Seems like he was stationed in Europe.
Sent your son-in-law.
Brother-in-law. Brother-in-law. He's young enough to be my son-in-law. Anyhow, he was stationed in Germany in the service, and Josephine went to see him, and they were going to tour Europe. And they toured, a lot of places, and they were touring Italy. And they were looking for a place called Florence, Italy. And they drove all up and down looking for Florence, and they went through a couple of places, and they went to this place called Firenze, and they just kept on going. Well, it turns out that Firenze is Florence. So he learned a little history lesson. Remember this, and I think Bill will too. When we were dating, one of the things that we did when we brought the lovely girls home after our dates, particularly on Saturday night, Lois's mother would always have some fresh coffee cakes that she had baked. You remember those?
Yeah.
And they would be apricot and
Oska too, huh?
plum and hoska and everything. And of course she had baked these partially for us young men that were courting her daughters, and partially for breakfast the next Sunday morning. But it always turned out that Bill would eat everything up, and there was
I don't remember that at all.
No recollection.
Well, let's see. I started working in a place called Elson Meadow. It was bitter, bitter cold, and I had to walk a few blocks to get there. And then there was a young man in the shipping department at the time, and it turned out to be Bill. And at the time, I was going with someone else. And I later broke up with him, and then Bill asked me out, and
That was it.
that was it.
someone else was named Bob. I remember him.
I decided I wasn't ready to spend the rest of my life with Bob, so so we have Bill.
Sounds pretty good. I can remember the picnics we used to have out at the cottage, and the time that Cal lost his glasses in the lake.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Sounds like
And he
Dad.
somehow found them, and I don't know how. It was-
In 3-foot water. Yeah.
With
With a silty
Well,
bottom.
what I did was I asked everybody to stay out until I find my glasses, and they did. And the water cleared up.
Yeah. Fortunately, it was clear. It was.
Yeah, it cleared up enough so that I could spot the glasses down at the bottom. And I don't know that I ever thanked you guys who got out of there, but I'm still not too late.
I
Thanks.
see you didn't have your glasses on now. That's
I had goggles,
Mask, like a goggles.
goggles, and with the face in the water, it was the same as having glasses on.
I don't get that much room on the tape either.
excuse me.
I don't have that much room on the tape either.
Hurry up.
My first story is called My First Paying Job and My Last Cigarette.
Ooh. Sounds like a movie in the making.
Oh, Joe.
My dad smoked cigarettes in a pipe. He had a smoking stand with tobacco, pipes, cleaners, and all that good stuff in the living room. Ashtrays were all around. So what do you expect of a teenager? I tried smoking. I went to our little stairwell, went down the stairs, with an ashtray full of these ugly old butts, and lit them up, And that's what I did. They tasted terrible. But since these were butts, I figured that the full-length versions were better. But I had a problem since I wasn't old enough to buy these cigarettes. I couldn't get any. Right around this time, I got my first job at Goldblatt's at Belmont and Central. I was a seasonal worker. I worked for 2 or 3 months during the Christmas season. And I worked for a short time as a shoe salesman. One day.
I wonder why.
It's a very, I don't know what you want to call it, competitive store, and they train you to upsell. Like I've been trying to train my wife. Anyway, I was not good at this, even though I was good at trying to tell my wife what to do. And I was not good at sales, and so I wound up in the auto department. My job was to take, stock the shelves and take old batteries down in the basement, I don't know what they do with them, and then take the new batteries and give them to the customer. And the lady who was the manager of the auto section was in her 50s, a little plump old lady, and she took a liking to me.
How plump was she?
How much did you
So
Good one,
she
Mom.
liked to talk a lot, and when it was slow, she talked to me, and sometimes for emphasis, she would take my hand like this, I was just a teenager, and pull it towards her breast.
Ooh.
For emphasis.
A little sex education on the job. I like that.
Very nice lady. Anyway, a day or two before Christmas, we were all told that the end was near, and I was given a gift. I was given 2 cartons of cigarettes. I don't remember what it was, but I was a kid, So what do you do? Now my dream is fulfilled. I go home and I smoke these 2 cartons of cigarettes. All within like a week or two. My stomach was upset. I had a sore throat. My neck swelled up like this, and I wound up throwing away cigarettes. And I haven't smoked a single cigarette since.
He said he's not gonna tell it all.
okay.
One more, Dad. One more. We got one more.
That was kind of risque.
One story
G-rating.
the good times, the other story that's the bad times. Well, I'll go with the good times. Unless if you want me to get the bad times. Good times, this is part of what I did as a child and where you lived as in the neighborhood. And we lived on the 5800 block of School Street, which is a dead-end street. The only way to get in was via North Menard Street. We were kind of isolated, and it was a close-knit community. Everybody knew each other by name. At the end of the block, there was this huge prairie, which now has St. Patrick's High School on it and a bunch of other newer homes. This is where my fort was. I dug my fort. And I had potatoes roasted in a fire. There were many paths in the prairie that you could use for walking and riding bikes. That was the path to go to St. Ferdinand's, our church. We played baseball and other games in the street without any fear of traffic. And there was a cast iron old street lamp right in front of 5827 School Street, which was gold for hide and seek and all those other games we played. And our front porch was the center of activity. During the day, I used to bounce a ball off the stairs and play baseball myself, solo baseball, and with other kids in the block.
Do you know what that game was called? Bouncing the ball off the stairs?
No?
Pinner. Remember that?
No.
Pinner. That's the name of it. Yeah. It was a Chicago game, Chicago name.
Well, we played it all the time.
Yeah, I don't recall that either. Maybe different neighborhoods.
That could be.
Good big name.
Well, at night, the porch was the gathering point too for neighborhood kids to play games, since there was no TV. And many years later, Mr. Maloney, our next door neighbor, was the first on the block to have TV, and I used to go over there on Tuesday nights to watch Milton Berle and wrestling. Whoa! Whoa! We made homemade root beer in a huge crock and bottled it with mechanical capper. And they had to ripen.
The right time it was okay.
Together.
The root beer had to ripen a few days on the back porch, and we always lost a few to explosions like The best part was the root beer floats because we had homemade ice cream and homemade root beer. One of my jobs was to pick up cherries from the cherry tree in the backyard. And I helped key in cherries and peaches and apples. We had a cherry pie maker. And it had these two metal arms like this. It was hinged in the center, little pocket. You put 2 pieces of bread there and filled it with cherries and cooked it over the stove.
Forgot about
Cheese
that.
too.
I also took my bike to Uncle Joe's house, which is about 4 or 5 miles away, and they had apple trees there. And the Saddlebacks had the apple trees, and we had applesauce, and apple pies, and apple everything. Our entertainment was radio and visiting, mostly with Uncle Joe and Aunt Alice and Jean, Joan, Rita, and Bud. We played cards a lot, Monopoly games, lots of visits, lots of talking, lots of good times.
There goes Dan's cat.
The trip with the in his hair, you know.
And Joe saying, after about 5 years of seeing it, he said, "That's a fake."
It was a stamp lamp.
And Thanksgiving dinners and Aunt Claire's wonderful Bavarian cream and Betty's spinach carrot casserole, which we still make. It's just really good, all the good food. Going to Ruth and Don's on weekends, vacation, driving to Nashville with Nancy and Ron, and driving all night, and Nancy yelling at Ron, "Keep Ron in the road," because Ron was very polite. He would want to look at you when he was talking, and take his eyes off. And going to Nashville, and Uncle Don taking us to our first strip show. We went to our first
It was
strip
called
show.
Printer's Alley. I remember
Yes, you
that.
had to knock on the door, you know, and somebody peeked out, and we got in, and
Tempest Storm was
right.
performing.
And then I had to go home with him to Ruth and Don's to sleep, you know. Here he's all fired up.
Remember that?
Hey, Mom, give me 10 minutes.
We thought you guys were
Take a
all
pause.
Boy, they used to park for hours.
We didn't have a car. We went by public transportation.
For those of you who just missed, Aunt Lois, Uncle Joe would park for hours, kissing,
What you guys are doing?
making out in the car.
We were having very serious philosophical discussions.
Hot conversation.
Oh, was I not supposed to record that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I remember that.
For those of you, Uncle Don and Aunt Ruth.
And Nancy,
There's
Ron,
Uncle Don.
and Joe and I, we all got married within a year.
That's right, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and sometimes you guys would take a ride out to our house.
right.
And I can remember one Saturday evening, all 3 couples ended up at our house. And you didn't come together.
Yeah.
Just standing there.
Well, you
was
were
cute.
just, you know, you had a new house and
Oh, I
everything.
know.
We were
It's
so,
so
impressed.
exciting.
How about Ruth? You're up.
What am I up to?
That's what
Tell
we would
about
like
the
to know.
Tell them about the time that they came to Nashville to see a striptease dance.
Who's talking about that? We're talking about Printer's Alley and Tempest Storm.
All these great Chicagoans had to come down to Nashville.
Not only one time, we did it a couple of times. Every time people came from Chicago down there, we better go down to Printer's
And I
Alley.
thought you took him to Andrew Jackson's home.
That's
That's
about 8 or 9
yeah,
And here it was
we would go to the Hermitage and all
We went
that.
to the Andrew Jackson's home. We never went
This is Carol talking right now.
Oh, sure, Aunt Claire. No, okay.
Another historic spot.
Right.
Long gone.
We went to the Hermitage, we would go to Shiloh, but then we'd end up at Printer's Alley.
When we stayed at your house, Ruth and Don, the kids would write notes and put them underneath our bedroom where we were sleeping. They wanted us to get up.
I remember when we were sleeping in I guess it must have been Kent's room, Lois and I.
No. Oh, after that.
It was your other wife.
Anyhow, we were sleeping in this bed, and Kent had this German Shepherd dog. And he would like to sleep under our bed. Then he would get up and pull me. This was a big dog. And
105 pounds of
he
dog.
would get up and he would just knock us out of bed. Hey, remember that?
Such hospitality.
So on that note, how about a story?
Your turn, Todd.
My turn.
Yeah.
Well, we want to tell you about a little time that was back in, I think, 1975, when we flew in, and I was able to get the whole family together, and we flew into Chicago for Thanksgiving. And I think it snowed that day.
Yeah, I remember.
And we rented a car and got stuck. Hey, he's flashing at me. And got stuck trying to get out of the area. And 4 strong backs come out and lift the darn car out and get us out of the doggone thing so we go. But anyhow, we spent the holiday in Chicago with Isaiah all as a family. And while we were there, we had a chance to take a picture of probably the last picture of the entire family together. That was the Wachowski's house.
Yeah, I remember that.
On the steps.
Yeah, the steps, yeah, we're on the steps, yeah.
And we have a little something for everybody as a result of that little trip.
Oh, great. Terrific.
Can you show the camera real quick?
Good story, Mom. Oh, thank you.
And so you'll recognize many of your relatives and so forth as they were many years ago.
This is when we were all
Oh, cool.
young and handsome.
Yes,
That grandpa on the very top there?
yes.
Oh, that's a neat picture. Maybe you want to come to the camera and just show it real close.
Get up, Dad.
How's this?
Yeah, let me just take a
Dad,
quick.
it's the Packer shirts for handshake.
Wait, hold on. All right, I think I got it.
November 1975?
Thanks.
No, that's not it.
This one here.
Okay.
This one.
Got it.
No, there's another one.
Oh, yeah, there's some folks there.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I'm sorry. There is an envelope. Maybe got the wrong envelope.
No.
This was in the Harrison envelope?
Yeah, each family's on a stairway. Weezer Suit Larry. Oh my God.
Our family.
The Carr
We kind
family?
of thought for a gathering like this was something that everybody liked to see.
Okay. The Reamer.
Sandra.
And especially since Lois asked me for these about 20 years ago.
Harlow.
Chelsea.
Chelsea. Great.
Oh my goodness.
Can't see Aunt Betty over here, but that's Aunt Betty and Cousin Bill.
That's all right, Joe, you can give me the hug later.
He's a fantastic.
You didn't find it in one envelope?
Great, great. No, 'cause you can tell by looking at these pictures.
The worst picture of the bunch is the Barwells.
Look at the hair on Aunt Betty. Isn't that funny?
I didn't like that.
Aunt Betty's got this big
I have one
boof on
other
hair.
thought or reminiscence that I'd like to mention, and that was that remember taking your dad to the hospital for the last time. And it was just the two of us. And he actually reached out and asked me to take his hand to help him up to the door. And that was most unusual for your dad.
Yeah, it sure was.
And I remember that very, very well. It was great. That's all. Oh, you
Yeah, that was great.
enjoyed it?
Great of you to do that.
Maybe we should add a toast to her.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
The pops, the pops.
Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe the Third.
Well, I guess the story I'd have to tell is my sisters and I used to, seemed like it was every year, take the trip to the Harrisons at Christmas. That was very important in our childhood, I guess, as we grew up. Really had to hand it to my parents, I think, or I suppose both of our parents. have all those kids in the house. We used to take the bus in those days, when we took a streetcar. It had to take us an hour to get there, I don't remember, I was too small, but they took us on the streetcar there, and then we walked, we must have walked from Belmont Avenue, I'm guessing. I also remember that when we ring the doorbell, and in those days, when somebody came to the door, the kids would all stand back and the parents would go in first.
The good old days.
Yeah, and we didn't feel abused.
We didn't see a psychologist about it or anything.
We thought this was normal. And I also recall at those times we used to play upstairs very quietly, and we certainly had a lot of fun. We played Clue, as I recall. And I often wondered why it never dawned on us to get Clue in our family, because every year we go back and relearn the rules. And we always felt bad because Joe always had these special ideas in mind.
Dad.
They always seemed to know more about the game than we did. But that was a lot of fun. I can remember they passed candy, and we all had to look at my mother. Got the okay. So these memories were very important to us. My sisters, many times over the years, we've talked about the trips to the Harrisons, and I guess it wasn't a very expensive thing at all, but it was certainly something that we think was important to us. Let me share that with you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Part-time. And how old was I? Old enough.
I don't believe so. You weren't 21. So, I went to Serpa at school, so I worked part-time at Weiler's, and Bud started after I did in the personnel department. And I would go in and say hi with work. And I never figured he'd even look at me because he was older, and he'd always ask, what year are you in? And I'd say a sophomore. You're still a sophomore? So, but there was one Christmas party when it all clicked. What happened at that Christmas?
What exactly do you mean by clicked? And my children
Chris, you're
dead. We had it.
But do you have any stories about Joni and Jeannie when they were little? They do not hear.
Chris does. She's laughing.
To go back and think now.
The ones that you
Maybe something will come to mind later.
Did they get along? Were they
Oh, they
like
got
two
along.
peas in a pod
Oh, yeah.
type thing?
Definitely two peas in the pod. Definitely.
Did they support each other?
Very supportive. They were always together, as I recall.
Because personality-wise, they're really different.
Yeah.
Actually, the way they
They
went
are
through
now.
life, they kind of complimented each other.
they do.
They're always very supportive.
Grandmother Sendelbach had a story that she liked to tell me about Aunt Jeannie and Aunt Joan. They had decided they wanted to decorate their room, and she gave them permission to, and they saved the money to buy the materials themselves, and they chose what they thought would be a pale shade of lavender. And it turned out to be a very garish purple.
Whoa.
And they were really unhappy with how the whole room turned out. It was a mutual disaster. But grandmother gave them credit. They lived with it and said, well, we did this to ourselves. But she thought it was really beautiful. They cooperated and mutually admitted when it was a mistake. So.
It was always a source of great embarrassment for the rest of the family to open this wine-colored room. What is this?
That was their.
Oh, it's my job.
Yeah. And Dad just happened to sit on those right.
Quite accidentally, huh?
He admitted later on when he was living with us, he admitted it was not accidentally.
Three memories from bygone years. One was, this must have been a year or two before Grandma Cecilia Harrison died. I went to stay with them for a week during the summer. I was about 9 years old. And Grandpa Harrison took me to Riverview. Whoa. This was just so wonderful. This is the first time I had ever been to Riverview. And I remember a few years later, my dad took us there, and it seemed like it had gotten a lot sleazier by that time. But my first experience at Riverview was wonderful. I remember we went on one of the roller coasters, not the Bobs, the Silver Streak, which was fairly tame by the standards of the day, but it was still pretty exciting. And so that was a wonderful memory that I had of being taken by Grandpa Harrison on the bus to Riverview. And then I also remember breakfast. Grandma Harrison made, this sounds so plain, but it was just so wonderful and delicious, toasted whole wheat bread with butter. It was just the best thing I had ever eaten. Might even have been margarine, I'm not sure. But I guess because my mother just didn't happen to serve that for breakfast. And it was something that was different that just seemed so wonderful to me. I also remember playing upstairs in the big room upstairs on School Street with the sloped roof and the green and white striped wallpaper.
That was painted.
That was painted?
Yes,
was it wallpaper?
we were discussing that a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, well, I remember that room being just wonderful. It was filled with books. And that was where I discovered Nancy Drew books, first edition Nancy Drew books that my mother and my aunts had when they were my age. And I also remember playing in that little teeny room just at the top of the stairs with the doll houses and the little chairs and the little desk and all the dolls and the toys. That was one of the most wonderful places.
Our house when we grew up in School Street.
Okay, then another memory that I have is a number of years later, Grandpa Harrison had been widowed for a number of years, all on his own on School Street. And I guess some of my aunts and uncles and parents decided that his house and his garage needed painting. And so we all got together, all the aunts and uncles and cousins, to paint and clean and take care of things in his house. So that was a family reunion right there where we all got together. And I also remember a time, this might even have been before the time that we painted Grandpa Harrison's house, when I was a teenager and I had a summer job, and my parents and younger brothers and sister went away on vacation. So Grandpa Harrison stayed with me. And I did some cooking. I burned the lamb chops. And Grandpa Harrison didn't say a word, he just ate those lamb chops. And I also remember that we had a little flood in the basement, and he worked very hard to clean up the flooding that summer. And I think when you got home, Mom and Dad, I think you were a little concerned because he was a heart patient by that time. But he took good care of me, and I took care of him that summer.
Nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
When parents were going away for the night, and I was 13, I believe, 12 or 13, and I was brought over by my parents to babysit for the night. And you were upstairs playing, and we were sitting on the couch, and they brought the two of us together. I don't remember.
Make sure it's Joe Jr. or Joe Sr.
You were, I would guess, around 3 years old, and you walked up to me, smiled, and punched me square in the nose. And my nose was ringing for about 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun.
You still forgive me after all these years, don't you?
He's gonna get even.
Well, then I'm gonna have to go here.
Had Christmas at our house, the Reamer house, and Santa was doling out all the presents to everybody. And came time for your present, and oops, somebody forgot it. So I ran upstairs and got my favorite toy, and it was a bank that was made to look like Snoopy or something like that. And we wrapped it up in newspaper real fast. Threw it at him, and he didn't accept it as the real McCoy. It didn't fly.
Didn't fly, huh?
He just cried.
Oh man.
Santa had forgotten.
He's been disturbed ever since.
That would explain the shooting spree anyway.
Neat story, Bill.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
To a strip club.
Yeah, tell me. You and me both. You and me both. I can't get over that.
Can you believe
Yeah,
it?
you know.
And where was I is what I want to know. Guess I must have been too young. I'm not really detailed in my memory, so I'll just have to say that I have a lot of really nice memories of going to School Street on Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, anything else that came up, I guess, and playing with a whole bunch of really neat kids that all of a sudden were there that happened to be my cousins. I do remember, and Cindy and I were talking about this a little earlier, what it was like when there were just a few of us and we got lots and lots and lots of attention, and then all the rest of you guys came along. It kind of got diluted along the way, you know, it's like, okay. Okay, there's another kid, big deal, you know. I think I can even remember when we didn't used to draw names for Christmas presents and we used to just all get presents.
Oh.
Those were the good old days.
Just bring them on, right?
When you guys were little and you and Carol stayed at our house, I don't know what Mom and Dad were, and you had your little bit of your Nashville accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the cement.
Carol. Yeah, Carol.
Oh, that was the time that you and Joe, I think, had gone down there and brought them back.
Yes.
Yes. And then I know they stayed with us for a couple of days, and then they
See,
stayed with
that's what I
Grandma
mean.
and
We got
Grandpa.
lots of attention. I remember staying with Aunt Nancy for a week. And staying
Yeah,
with you guys.
yeah.
That didn't happen after a while.
But you were so specific because we were eating a meal and we always got kind of crazy. And Wendy said, "Is this my dinner or my supper?" We still say that. She didn't know what the meal she was having.
The only specific thing that I can remember is out of all of these cousins who I loved playing with and they were so much fun, there was this annoying one who was always running around trying to kiss me, and it bugged me, and his name was Alan.
That figures.
New meaning to the word kissing cousin, I guess. Always trying to kiss me.
This Alan a creation of the Bachowski family?
Yes,
Oh,
it would
okay.
be, yes.
Okay.
Well, Alan had good taste, and he took after his father.
This is true.
Speaking of sisters, are you sure we're gonna get you tonight? No, we're not gonna get you to tell tonight, are we?
I ditto to everything my sister said.
Ah, so then you'd be the younger sister, then I can tell.
I have to clear some things.
Clear the air, clear the air. He wants to know what happened on those streetcars. Okay. What happened in Riverside Sunday?
Riverview?
Riverview?
And I think you were with Wendy. Wendy and Kent visited our place. I think it was, do you remember this? Remember Kent was there. And Kent, you know, at this point was a very lively young man, and he had one of these hats with the propellers on top of it. And he was running around the house and being, you know, very active, like boys are at that age. And of course, Ruth always was the strict disciplinarian in the family, and Kent did something to get him upset, or to get her upset. So she says, "Kent, I've had enough of this. Go to your room." And of course, Kent was visiting us, and he looked around and he says, "Ma, where is my room?" And Lois cracked up, and Ruth said, "Lois, you're not helping me."
Okay, I'll fill in the details. Kent and his mother and his sisters had come down on the Pullman. He had slept on the Pullman one night. They came down to see your mother who was sick. Slept at her place one night. Came to our house, and if I remember right, he was very young, and so there was no bed except a pull-out in the living room, which he was going to have to share with his mother. So we had him fall asleep on our master bed, and then when his Uncle Joe carried him to the pull-out couch when it was time for everybody to really go to bed. So he had slept in 4 places in 3 nights. So now you see why I cracked up.
Ruth was not happy with you. I still remember that, and when you reminded me of that.
Are your aunts or your uncles?
Well, I remember going.
Stand up, Rachel. Stand up and show us your lovely face.
Okay, going to Aunt Rita's and Uncle Phil's house every Thanksgiving, when we were little and everything, and then getting presents and stuff, and just looking at my mom and just seeing her face of like horror and shock, like since we're getting presents and everything, and nobody else did. So I remember being really happy that I was getting presents at Thanksgiving.
And Rita knew how to do it.
I got no presents.
Poor baby.
You got a cold.
You weren't a good boy.
I have a story that I thought of.
Oh,
Okay,
Jody.
that's my story.
Oh,
Are we
okay.
listening?
We're here.
Yes.
We're listening.
No, I don't. I have the story. We had this dog named Peanuts, which I believe my mom bought for my dad for some occasion. Birthday, I don't remember. But this dog was great. Very loyal. Would meet my dad on the corner. He was coming home from work. Great dog. Took the abuse, took the eye pokings out, give him on a daily basis, the ear pulls, like that.
As a normal infant would do.
Yeah, so, he was never bit me when I would poke him in the eye, and he was just great. So one day my mom was vacuuming, and it was thundering outside and storming, and the dog was scared of lightning. My mom said, "Jody, go take the dog in. The dog needs to come in." Well, of course, I didn't listen, because I really didn't want to listen that much, so didn't bring the dog in. Dog ran away. Dog dug himself under the fence and ran away. And I had the blood on my hands ever since. That's this great dog.
You're taking blame for
I'm
this
taking because I did not.
This is true confession.
The dog ran away, and everyone. I cried for many moons after that. I cried.
Well, I hate to mistaken you, but that was on the 4th of July. I thought it was on the 4th of July it ran away.
Family reunion, Jody.
Yes, that's my memory. It's my memory. I remember this clearly. This dog. I just.
Jody, Peanuts is in doggy heaven. It's okay.
Oh, we've gotten over it, Joe.
I've carried the guilt for all these years. I let the dog go.
Josephine, you abused your
Jody, you will go down as the dog story.
I didn't know that you took blame.
I remember it clearly. It's yesterday.
Hello, my name is Joe Harris. I'm an alcoholic.
To July 6th. Lovely Saturday. Bright and early in the morning. And we're at the Harrison's house. Ready to start our next storytelling day. Got activities today. Breakfast at the Harrisons. Well, and we got some daily activities going on. Showing you a little bit of the outside of the home where most of the people are coming this morning. Got a lot of birds singing this morning. Could be a beautiful day again. Probably expecting to reach probably about 80. And right now I'm taking you on the walking tour. I hope I'm not making y'all too dizzy. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, we caught a cardinal. Isn't that a beautiful cardinal? Just kidding. Just a little fake bird my mom conjured up for the event today. And you're looking at the deck of Apple Canyon Lake here, General Jackson 166. That's where we're at today. And then down here is where we give the boat rides. Right now we're just outside, kind of looking down. Nice little lower deck. And the pontoon bit where everybody goes on to have a little cocktail and check out the lake. Like I say, it's going to be a beauty, so stay with us, stay in tune. We're going to have a good time today.